Oh my god, dude, it did not let up.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I wasn't planning on making a video today, but getting ready to go on a wheeling trip tomorrow and was doing, you know, the pre-wheeling bolt check on everything, going over my steering and my drive lines and just checking all the nuts and bolts. And I found something. Got a clunking noise coming from somewhere, so guess we'll crawl under there and take a look. Let's see if I can get under here. All right, listen. I don't know if you can see or hear that. So at first I thought that was coming from the U-joints, which is where that would normally be a lot more common, but I did just service these beginning of winter and both sides check out. It's coming from the splines, and you can see my drive line's a little short anyways. I've known that for a while. I've been meaning to build a new one that was the proper length because I pushed my rear end back further. So I think these splines are getting worn out and it's also just too short, so I guess we're just gonna make a new one. All right, so I guess the next step that we gotta do is I need to measure from this eye, or this U-joint, all the way to this one, because I mean, my axle's not moving back any further. I just need to extend this part so that it has the proper amount of slip here. And so if I know the length from eye to eye, then I know how long it needs to be, and we can take it out and build it on the bench. So I guess we'll do that now. I forgot one critical part here, guys. You gotta jock the wheels before you take the drive line off. I should know that better than anybody, right? Alright guys, I finally got the drive line out, and it's a good thing I decided to pull this. Take a look at this. That clip was about to fall out. The splines are shot. It was definitely time to service this again. So what I got to do now is I already measured eye to eye, and it ended up being 36 inches exactly. And so that's what I need to stretch my new one. You can see I've already cut here and here. I need to stretch that to 36 inches. Then I have to change this flange. This is what bolts to the actual axle. So I got to take these U-joint apart and get it on the new one. So this is the tube that I'm going to use to stretch it. It's just some 2-inch tube, and the ID happens to be the perfect size for the stock drive lines to fit inside, nice and snug. So I'm just going to, you know, slide these on in here. I'll end up welding around here, and since it's a perfect fit, I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't a perfect fit, you know. But since it's a perfect fit, then we know it's going to be as balanced as a home driveline can be, and it's going to be a lot stronger because it's 2-inch and it's going to be sleeved the whole way, so that's going to be good. So I guess the first thing I got to do is take this end of the tube and slide it in here as best I can. Actually needs to be cleaned up first, so let me grab my grinder and I'll clean it up. Alright, so now I have that all cleaned up. I do think I'm going to try and knock this driveline weight off, which I realize is going to misbalance the driveline, but I mean, I figure I'm doing that myself right now anyway, so I'd rather be able to get this weight off. That you can see right there, it has a ledge. That way I could butt the tube all the way up and have this nice little like ridge here to weld against and fill that whole gap. Probably make multiple passes, so I'm not entirely sure how these come off. I think I'm going to start with an air hammer. Well, that made pretty quick work of that. I wouldn't have put that on a time lapse if I'd known that was going to take a half a second, but there we go. So that's nice and smooth now. I'll clean that up as well, then we can butt the tube right up against there and start measuring. All right, starting to look good here. So what I did was I went ahead and I cleaned the edge of the driveline here with a wire wheel. I also chipped the little balancing weight off with an air hammer. Came right off. You could probably do that by hand if you didn't have an air hammer. Then I went ahead and I beveled the edge of the tube here, that you can see, all the way around. That's so I can get nice good penetration when I weld that. And so this side is pretty much done now. It's obviously way too long. So the next thing I got to do is I got to measure how much slip is in the driveline. And by slip in the driveline, I mean how much play the driveline has to slide back and forth like that, because I don't want to, you know, do all of my measurements and have this be fully extended and the axle not be able to droop, or same thing, have it be all the way compressed and have it get in a bind and stuff. So what you want to do is you want to measure how much travel this has, and then you want to set it right in the middle, wherever that is, and that's where you're going to do your eye-to-eye measurement, which mine was, I believe, 36 inches. So that's what I'm going to do now. Alright, so the next step is I need to take this U-joint apart and get this flange put onto this end cap. I mean, I could theoretically just slide this completely off, you know, like that, and I could just use this one, but this one's a little beat up. It's been banged off some rocks quite a bit, and this one is not, so I think I'm gonna just swap the U-joints. Alright, I got that off. So you saw me, I just got a big old socket here. It just has to be big enough for the end to fit inside of, for the end of the cap to fall inside. And you just line it up and get some kind of a punch that again is big enough to fit through there, but still hit the caps. Wail on it with a hammer till she comes out. After looking at it, this U-joint's decent. It's not terrible, so I think I'm gonna reuse it. I'm just gonna move it over to this driveline instead. Looks like we've got it on here now. You can see I got both sides on there now. New clips. Like I said, I didn't end up replacing the U-joint. It's a pretty new U-joint, even though I mean it doesn't really look like it. But I just serviced this beginning of winter, so I know the U-joint itself is okay. Just needed some new clips, and it needed a new, I'm not sure what you call this, the slip end or whatever. So now I just gotta find the center of the slip, measure where on this tube I need to cut this at, and put it together and weld it up. So you can see I have the tape measure here, and it's right to about 36 in the middle. And remember, we're wanting to butt this tube up right to the edge of this weld here. So we're gonna go right about here. I'm gonna give myself a little bit of wiggle room here, as always, and we'll take that over the chop saw. right, so I did end up making a mistake here. I just kind of slid this tube on carelessly, not really thinking anything of it. But the end of both driveline yokes do need to be in sync here. And so you can see that one down there is straight up and down, and this one is cockeyed. And you don't want that. That's bad for driveline balancing. So one would think that I could just, you know, twist this, but it was a pretty tight fit, and I've tried, I can't get it to twist. So I think what I'm gonna have to do now is pull this off and then twist it one spline or so, and hopefully it lines that back up. Wish me luck. Alright, so I just dealt with a problem off camera. Turns out, normally I'm a big supporter of undercutting tube and stuff, just so I like to have extra material. You know, you can always cut more off, but you can't add tube. And I did the same thing here, maybe cut back to when I said I was going to undercut it when I was cutting the tube. I'm going to give myself a little bit of wiggle room here, as always. But it ended up being just a hair too long once I got it in there, and it was such a tight fit around the driveline that it was, I mean, I couldn't even turn it, I couldn't get it out. So what I ended up doing is just welding a plate to the very edge of this and then beating it with a hammer, and that ended up working, and I got it off. And I feel like I'd be cheating if I didn't at least share that with you guys. All right, so I trimmed it again, refit it back up there. I got my little spot that I had that thing welded on ground down, and fit it back up there, and it fits good now. So I'm happy with it. Only thing left now is to weld it. Alright, that's it for this video. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. If this helped you at all, or you liked what you saw and you're into this kind of stuff, feel free to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.